All right. I am very excited to finally say welcome, James Bonadies, to the Inspired Idiot Show.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, even though you've probably tried to get me on for a while now.
Yeah, it took some harassing, but this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna try to make it fun. Normally I will try to make this like a conversation. I ask questions, we kind of go back and forth, but I know how special it is to get this much of your time, and I want us to get as much content out of this for you as possible. So I'm just gonna kind of fire questions to you, and I'm just gonna give you the floor today, I think.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Okay.
Sounds good. If I have to stop every once in a while to go blow my nose, it's because I'm sick. I apologize if I have to keep stopping.
All right, I'll get over it. So now, obviously, I am extremely familiar with who you are and what you do. You've worn many hats to me. You've been a coach, you've been a client, you've been a mentor. You're the co-founder of the Local Marketing Vault program, which is the program that I used to launch my agency. But now, for somebody who's watching this and is maybe meeting you for the first time, how would you explain to like a sixth grader what you do?
Yeah, so to explain, explaining to a sixth grader is probably the same as explaining to my father, who still doesn't understand what I do to this day, even though I've been doing this for 10 years. Listen, people overcomplicate what this business is, which is essentially we just help local businesses get more leads and customers, get more brand visibility, get seen online. That's really it. Because when businesses get more leads, the leads lead to customers, phone calls, and more money in their pocket. It's the easiest way. I don't know if I could say it any other way than that.
No,
So,
that's pretty concise. So, something that I've heard people ask before, and I think would be good to hear you answer, is what made you decide to start a coaching program teaching this instead of just focusing on growing your own agency?
so Jason and I, we had our agencies separate. Then we merged them after I hired him to do a few things back in the day. And back then, we were really heavy on paid ads, which we were using ClickFunnels for. So we were running ads to funnels, PI lawyers, divorce attorneys, pain management doctors. And what was happening was that, I'm like thinking back. Well, the main thing that was happening was marketers were basically stealing our stuff. Like they were just like they heard about us in the ClickFunnels, then they would go to our page and they would see the ads that we were running for loan officers, and then they would copy it, and then everybody in ClickFunnels was using the same thing. So we were like, to stop that, the best way to do it is just to join it and sell them. So instead of them having to search it out, we'll put the ads in front of them and sell them the 18 funnels or the 6 funnels. Back then, we were selling packages of funnels because we were working in 19 different niches back then. So we had like starter package, I don't remember what we called them. And, you get 6 funnels or 12 or 19, basically. And that's kind of where the Local Marketing Vault was born. We called it the Local Marketing Vault because we had a vault of funnels. And when we started selling it to marketers, then we realized we were getting actually like a lot of beginners also. People who heard of ClickFunnels, they didn't know, they thought ClickFunnels was this unbelievable thing, but then they're like, well, what do I do with the funnels? Like I need a business, I need like a model to use the funnels in. And so then we started getting people who were like, oh, well, I never heard of this marketing thing. I just, want to be able to use these funnels because Russell Brunson said, this is how you get financial freedom. And so then we're like, well, we should probably teach these people like A to Z how to start like a marketing agency. And then that's how we kind of and it just like took a life of its own. And then what ends up happening is like you continue to run your agency, you're only so much time. The agency's running. Jason handled a lot of that. I handled a lot of the coaching. And we brought in, I think we're up to like 8,000 or 8,200 members in the Local Marketing Vault since 2017. Been a fun ride.
So it was kind of a mix of you guys getting to a point in your agency that you had a lot of clients, but you realized there was a demand for people who wanted to learn what you guys knew.
Yes, 100%. So, and there was always something also that I like had in my head. It was like that whole, maybe who said this was, in order to get to where you want to go, help other people get to where they want to go. Probably butchered that. I think it was Jim Rohn, maybe. Anyway, and so I always was like, man, maybe the more we help people, the more I'm going to get to where I want to go. And so it turned out to be true. I mean, not everybody who starts his business succeeds. Most people don't. But the reality is that, you let the people, you give them the opportunity and see what they do with it. And why not? I mean, there were people that were, like begging for help. So we had to put the course together and teaching how to run ads, how to run Facebook ads, how to build the funnels, how to basically use our funnels and stuff like that. So yeah, it just took a life of its own, to be honest.
And so for anybody who's a little bit unfamiliar, when you say that you guys had like 18 or 19 different funnels, you guys basically had 18 or 19 different industries, different types of businesses that you had kind of a step-by-step process for like exactly how to get them customers.
Yeah. So like we would have a 2-page funnel. It was like landing page and thank you page for, let's say, a pain management doctor. Well, that one was a little different. That was a survey funnel. But then we had like simple ones for towing or dentists or plumbers, electricians. And they were ugly, but they converted like crazy. And, tried to keep it as simple as possible. Then we would train them on how to do it, how to find the clients, what to sell the clients, how much do you charge them to do this, to run Facebook ads. Not every niche is like Facebook ad worthy. So, what niche do you run on Facebook? What niche do you run on Google for pay-per-click ads? So yeah, there was step by step, still is to this day, same way.
Okay. And you said you've been doing this for 10-ish years now. So what do you think makes SMMA still a good business model in 2026?
Yeah, so it's funny. I actually just learned that social media marketing agencies was coined by Ty Lopez. I never knew that. Yeah, so that's not even really the name of this. That was all him. And so now I feel like we're at a point where SMMA isn't really the term. It's all the same thing. Like a marketing agency. Like that's really what it is. And you could market on social media. Now with AI, you have all these, how do you rank in the LLMs, or, how do you run pay-per-click ads? How do you run Facebook ads? So to me, it's more of it being a marketing agency. And I think we're in a time where it's the biggest opportunity it's ever been, even going back 10 years when I first started, because back then I was doing rank and rent. I was building sites, ranking them, like I'm going back 2014, ranking them. And then that model kind of like fizzled out because you can't get your Google business profile because you're not a real business, because you're trying to rent the sites to a real business. So there's a lot of problems with that. And so we moved into just a typical marketing agency. And I think now with AI, I mean, just adding, it's being able to take a complete beginner that maybe somebody who's gone through our training took them maybe 30 days to 60 days to kind of understand. And I think with AI, like you can get somebody like fully ready to run this business in like a few days, depending on how many hours a day, of course, but just to kind of understand it. Cause you can go through our training and then you can ask ChatGPT something that you're confused with. You know what I mean? Like there's just so much knowledge out there, which also could be a bad thing. But I think that local businesses now more than ever just know for a fact that they need to be online. And if they're not online, they're going to go out of business. 100% fact. So
Yeah.
need people
So
like that.
the underlying foundation of the business is still relevant because businesses more than ever today know that they need to be online, but the industry and the kind of way that you guys teach it has obviously changed over 9 years with the addition of AI and stuff like that. But it's still at its core is an extremely relevant business model.
At its core, I'll ask this question to people: a local business that opens up down the street, a dentist, outside of the people he knows, where does his business come from? Where does it come from? It has to come from somewhere. And at some point, your warm market, or maybe like you worked under another dentist, or you went to college and they're going to get married and have kids, and they're going to bring them, like at some point that networking and that warm market falls, like it stops to some extent. Then you need to build up the base from cold, right? We call that cold traffic. And it has to come from somewhere. A dentist is not going to walk down the street and knock on residential doors and ask them, hey, can you send flyers to, if you're new? Yeah, that's marketing, right? But instead of flyers, although you could do that, you're just putting little ads on Google or even on Facebook, $5 a day, brand awareness ad, things like that. So it is essential. It is like live or die to be able to generate your own business as a local business. And they don't have time to do it. And that's where the opportunity is.
Nice. Okay, good. So kind of piggybacking off that, you guys have been running LMV for 9 years. You have somewhere around 8,000 members. So does that mean that this space is too saturated by now?
Yeah, no. Because if you look, so let's actually back into the numbers. Let's just talk about the United States of America. Let's say there are 35 million, and I'll do the math with everybody if anybody's watching this. 35 million businesses. in the US. If we divided that by, I don't know, what do you want to divide that by? 50,000? 50,000 people. 35 million businesses, 50,000 people not only know this business, but they actually have some sort of success in it. That would mean that all those 50,000 people would need to have 700 clients. Not going to happen. So let's double that, right? 35 million divided by 100. Well, we already know what that is. 100,000. That's 350 clients. And we can go on and on and on. So there aren't 200,000 marketing agencies in the United States. And so me in Wayne, there's like one. There's like one and this is like 80,000 people just in Wayne. And there's like one marketing agency just in Wayne, 2 with me. And so what I would say is that it's impossible to saturate. It's impossible because you just can't. Not only is there 35 million, there's whatever the number is, like 500,000 new businesses coming in every single year. You know, some of the people retire, they sell it, whatever it might be. But every year, 500,000 new businesses. Somebody has to work with them. And why not it be somebody like me or you or whoever? Tomorrow, somebody comes into our program and learns it. And why can't it be them? I mean, how many clients does somebody really need to make a completely different life of themselves? 5 at $2,000 a month. That's 10 grand a month, 120,000 a year. So yeah, no, you can't saturate it. Not when there's new blood in the water all the time.
Good answer. So this is an objection that I've heard from people a lot when I talk about LMV. Obviously, like I said, 9 years running, A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, 4.9 out of 5 on Trustpilot. Often when I tell people that, I get the response that it sounds too good to be true. Why do you think people say that? And what do you have to say to that?
Like I was going to say, beside get angry, I would say that, you know, if somebody is overweight, right, and they lost 60 pounds in 3 months, and somebody's struggling with losing weight, they've tried it all their life, and they saw that person, and they're like, you know, they go to their friends and they're like, yeah, they must have done something, you know, they must have cheated somehow to lose all this weight. And the reality is no, they just worked their ass off and ate right, and went to the gym. And so I think when people say it sounds too good to be true, they're really just saying, I'm too lazy to do this and I don't really want what I want. And those people are the people that we don't need to help, or, you know, they could go find somewhere else to do it. I'm not into the chasing game anymore. Maybe back in the day I used to be. But I think that when somebody thinks something is too good to be true, I mean, I understand the skepticism to some extent, but I think at some point, you know, like logic comes into play too. And like maybe you should just say like, oh, you know, there was a billboard on the highway, so maybe this marketing thing is real. You know, like I see commercials, so maybe like, you know, businesses will pay. You know, I saw that lawyer run a commercial during the football game. I guess, you know, this actually has to happen. And why can't you do it for people? So I think logic comes into play. And I think a lot of people who say that, they just try to find excuses to not have to like hold themselves accountable. I know it sounds a little rough, but it's my opinion. But I get it. I understand to some extent. The internet is a scary place. But like you said, I mean, we have 995 Trustpilot reviews, and, you know, those are independent reviews. So I don't know. You know, sometimes it's like, just let them go somewhere else and find out themselves and come back one day.
Yeah, that's exactly the stance that I take as well. I'm like, well, I mean, ultimately, a lot of people who come into LMV are probably people who have tried other things. Some of them feel like they maybe got burned in some way. But ultimately, like anytime I talk to people, I'm never trying to like convince them that LMV is legit. I think when people actually take the time to do that research and see that track record, it's not hard for them to convince themselves. And if they're not convinced, then there's usually some doubt there. It's either a doubt that the program is legit, which I think the track record can speak to, or it's a doubt in themselves and whether or not they actually want to commit to it.
Yeah. I mean, look, even like if I've had so many conversations with people who are like, you know, I've been burned before. And like, I actually kind of sometimes feel like there's really not as much scamming and, you know, being burned out there as people say there is. I think it literally has to do with, you know, there's a lot of good like programs out there. I'm not saying like even our coach program is the best thing in the world. Like if I wanted to go learn e-com and sell stuff on the internet, I could buy a $10,000 course. And if I do nothing with it, did I get burned or did I just do nothing with it? You know what I mean? Because I've done it before. I mean, God knows, you know, how much money I've spent on things. And it's like, And then I'm like, well, I didn't really get enough out of it because I didn't put anything into it. But that doesn't mean I'm getting scammed or burned. It just means that I just failed myself and on to the next. I mean, it's just the reality of life. So I don't think there is being burned out there. I guess maybe back in the day there used to be, but the FTC and the SEC and the oversight, like you can't really get away with that any longer, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, I mean, you might have a different opinion on this, but in my experience, I think the number one factor that I think determines whether or not somebody will be successful is their self-honesty and their self-accountability.
I mean, accountability, 100%. Because I remember back, even if I go back to like the first high ticket thing I bought, his name was Alex Jeffries. And the funny thing is, I actually met him in person like years later. But it was a funny story. But he was selling a $7,000 something. I don't remember what it was. I don't even remember what I was supposed to learn. And I signed the paper like that I wouldn't like charge back or whatever. And I literally never opened it. I don't even know what I was supposed to do with it. Like I got all these emails and stuff, and I never did anything with it. And I kind of knew after the high went away, it was like, oh, this is going to be the opportunity. I had to borrow the 7,000 from my buddy, who I eventually paid back. But I just did nothing with it, and I had this feeling that I was going to do nothing with it, but I still just did it, and thinking that buying something was going to fix the problem. But you can't. It's all work. Everything is work, hard work. You can't
So if you
ever
could
get away with it.
if you could take me back to that experience, like you said, you kind of knew you weren't going to do anything with it. What was like the thought running through your head? Because I feel like people often doubt this. They doubt that people buy programs and then don't do them, but it happens all the time.
Oh no, it happens like 90% of the time. And that's for every program on the planet. And by the way, look at how many people start college and don't finish college. I don't even know what that stat is, but it's extremely high. I want to find out actually what the stat is. I'm just curious what that stat is. But my thought process was I just remember I had no confidence in my ability to like build a business. I think at the time, like I guess this might go back to like 2011 or 12. I just don't think I understood how to even do anything. Like I didn't know how to recognize like what a good business would be. If that makes sense, right? Like affiliate marketing to me is like a cool business, but it's like if you don't know enough, like you have to learn so many different pieces of the puzzle. You know, what's the offer that's going to convert? Where do I send them? Where do I get the traffic from? I don't know how to run ad. I don't know how to do any of this stuff, right? And so, like, what a lot of like these affiliate programs are teaching is like, we're going to teach you how to sell what you just bought, like a self-fulfilling thing. Which to me, that's like a pyramid scheme. I don't know, but because the only way to do that, because then they don't have to go find a product, they don't have to go do all that stuff. But I feel like when it comes to this business, it's just so logical to me. It's like businesses need more leads and customers. It's the steps how you have to do it. And where does everybody go wrong? They go wrong because they're afraid to call businesses, email businesses, and things like that. That's the sticking point. Everything else is easy. What's the college? What do I say? College
dropout rate? Probably.
Dropout rate. Yeah.
It's got to be over 50%.
It's going to probably give me some like, okay, so it's 33% of college students drop out every year. 62% of students who start college actually complete it.
Yeah. It's higher than I would have thought.
And 100% of them spent more money than what they'll make for like the next 10 years.
Yeah, that's a whole other tangent that we could go down. Okay, so one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, because you obviously post a lot about Go High Level and Go High Level tutorials, using it in your own agency. So how would you describe your relationship with GHL? Do you work for GHL? Like, what is that?
No, just an affiliate of Go High Level because it's the tool that we use and it's a natural affiliation. Basically, like in order to run this, we're going to teach you how to run this business. And in order to run it, this is the tool you should use. You're going to pay them anyway, so you might as well click our link and we'll get a commission. That's it. This is as simple as that. Go High Level is if you're going to run an agency, I can't imagine using anything else, because if you go back to when we first started teaching, and when we were running our business, our agency. So 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21, we were teaching people how to run this business with 7 different tools, and people were making it work and they were succeeding. Now you have Go High Level, which is one tool, which makes, number one, it's a hell of a lot cheaper. The overhead is cheaper and everything, but it just makes it that much easier. That's why we always recommend Go High Level, and we just get an affiliate commission from them. That's it. We're not employed by them.
And ultimately, I mean, everybody in your program or everybody who runs this business can choose what tool they want to use, but you guys teach it because it just makes sense and it's what you guys use.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There are still people in our program that use ClickFunnels, believe it or not, which is shocking to me, but we still get commissions from ClickFunnels. So we know that people are still using them because we haven't had that link in there like 4 years. So yeah, people use ClickFunnels. They can do anything they want. They want to use Band-Aids and tie it all together and zip lines. But our recommendation is starting a business is hard enough. How do we make it the easiest, like remove all the barriers of entry as possible? And plus it's cheap as hell. I mean, you get 30 days for free and $97 gets you 3 clients on it. I mean, it's peanuts.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your background and stuff, because I think that's what makes you very relatable to a lot of people. You were a high school teacher and a vice principal before you built this huge online business. How do you think that helped you in business?
It just gave me a very strong reason to just keep going because I hated my job. I hated being a teacher. That's why I went and got my master's degree because I'm like the least forceful person in the world. Like I couldn't keep the kids like to sit in a chair. Like it was hard for them to listen to me. Plus I was like almost their age. When I graduated, I was like 21 and most of them were 17, 18 that I was teaching. That was an interesting time. So then when I got my master's degree, I was like, all right, this is how I get out of the classroom. And which, it worked. I got out of the classroom. I thought I was going to get a big, huge jump in money, but then we were stuck in contract for like 4 years with Governor Christie here in New Jersey. So I was supposed to get like a huge, to what I thought was a huge raise back then, was going to go like get a $40,000 bump. And then when I finally did get the bump, I was like, well, shit, this is like still not a lot of money. And I had to work. My job was more about working over the summer because I was getting everything ready for the school year. And so I just was like, I gotta get at it. That was my big motivating factor, was like, I just want to be able to do what I want when I want and be able to go on vacation when I want. If I want to take off and, take the kids skiing without 50,000 people on the weekend being there. Like those are like the little things I always thought about, travel, not during spring break, take them out of school and, travel when it's cheap and nobody is around. And so those are all like the motivating factors and things like that. So yeah, I would say that like my job didn't really help me. It just fueled me is the best way to put it.
That was
but I
actually
needed my job, but I needed my job because I was able to do it do this business on the side and still pay the bills and live life.
That was actually going to be my next question. What do you think was harder for you, managing a classroom of students or managing your own business?
God, a classroom of students? Are you kidding me? I would like, yeah. I mean, you got 26 kids staring at you. You're teaching them something you don't even really know much about. Because I was a new teacher, so I did that for. Let's see, I was in the classroom from. I'm just trying to think. Like I want to say 2002 to 2008, maybe. So 6 years, 5.5, 6 years. And then I left for 2 years. Do I ever tell that story? I don't even know if I ever tell that story where I owned the brick and mortar business.
Yeah, sporting goods store.
Yeah, a sporting goods store. Then I sold that. And then that's when I took the vice principal role. But did you ask me a question? I forgot.
Yeah, just what was harder, managing a classroom of students or managing your own business?
No, being a teacher is harder than running your own business. The only difference is you get your summers off. That's where they can unwind. They can unwind and take that summer off. But I'll tell you what, my best friend's wife is a teacher, and she can't take off. Like, she can't. He has his own business, but they don't have the freedom of him owning his own business because she's working a job. So they got live and die about what your boss will allow you to do.
Yeah. I think a lot of people who have only ever like been an employee have this perception that like being an entrepreneur is going to be harder and they're not going to be able to do it. But I've heard a lot of people say that being an employee was actually harder.
Yeah, the only thing I will say is probably like, being an employee in my mind is harder. I think what people, when they think of easier, they think of just the paycheck comes, like people rather kind of be a zombie so they don't have the fear of like, oh, am I going to get paid? And this is why I say, like, if you're working a full-time job and you start a business on the side, there's nothing better because then you stay with your job until like your income goes like this. You know what I mean? That's your safety net. And some people still work. I actually have and the only reason why I'm telling this story is because he just messaged me this morning. He's in our school group. He's a teacher down in like South Jersey. And his agency he's like a math teacher, science teacher. I can't remember. He's doing like 23,000 a month in as an agency. And he's like, why? He's like, why should I quit? He's like, I got health insurance paid for. I'm kind of double dipping. I'm making 20 grand a month in my agency. I'm a teacher, so I still get the summers off. So he's like justifying it. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to keep double dipping until I can't take it. And that's what I did for 4 years. I kept my job when I did not need to, mainly because I was like, I could do both. So
Until you couldn't.
Until you couldn't, yes. I mean, I could have. I just never would have grown. I would have just been at, a couple 100,000 here, 120,000 here, and that would be life.
So do you feel like there was a point where, like, was it that your agency was growing so big that you just didn't want to give attention to your full-time job anymore? Or what was the thing that ultimately made you decide, okay, it's time to leave?
So my daughter was born June 5th, 2017. Was it 2017? Yeah. So I remember that year, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't quit my job yet, right? And my agency was growing. It did really well in 2017. No, that was the biggest year we had. It was 2017, if I'm going back from after she was born. So 2007 or before, I was trying to get the timeline together. 16 was good. It was a good year. And I still wasn't comfortable yet to leave. 2017, I knew my daughter was being born in June. So I was like, I could have left, but I was like, I want to keep the health benefits. That could be a $500,000 bill if I don't have health insurance. And then at the end of 17, when I did my taxes, I realized that Jason and I's agency did 600,000 in profit. Like we each took home 300. And I was like, all right, this is getting a little ridiculous. And then, so that was the end of 17. And then I remember January, February, March. I remember it was like March. I think we had like a huge month and we just started the coaching business. And I was like, I'm either going to go like, this is either going to happen or it's not going to happen. And I was like, and I did I quit in like March of 2018 because it was just ridiculous. Well, we were making a ton of money and it was just getting ridiculous.
Just too much to be juggling them both.
It was just like almost embarrassing to myself where I was like, now we're coaching, right? So now we started coaching people and like, I need to like lead by example. It's like, people are coming into our program to get out of the 9-to-5. And here I am coaching them to help them get out of the 9-to-5. And I'm holding on to a 9-to-5. Like, I was like, I got to lead by example and kind of be a leader here. And that was another reason too. I was like, I got to take a risk if I'm showing other people that they can take a risk one day.
But I think that's part of what makes your story really relatable to people, especially because you talk in your content a lot about like not pushing people to leave their job right away. And like,
Yeah.
you know what it's like to be a family man and a provider. And like, there's no rush to jump into this and leave your job immediately if it's kind of your safety pad at the moment.
Oh yeah, no, I would, it's funny. I kind of learned that, I don't want to say lingo, but I guess like that advice from when I was working with Primerica, which you wouldn't have ever heard of.
I have. I almost got recruited by them.
Oh, okay. I was going to say they're probably international.
Yep.
Yes. So I actually, when I was in college, I brought in like 40 or 41 people, all college students, obviously. But I never missed a Saturday morning meeting. I got my life insurance license. I still have it to this day. I'm going to sneeze, I think. God, it felt so good. Oh, man. Anyway. So, and when we would go to those Saturday meetings, that like this guy, Jim Penn, he was very good with his like, his words. He was like the president of that office. And he'd always say like, do not leave your job. And they had like a whole calculation, and you had to meet if you wanted to leave your job and make Primerica your full-time job. And so they would, I don't know, you would be considered something different. You needed to get approval from like your upline or whatever. Otherwise, like you weren't allowed to be like a full-time employee of Primerica. So it's a huge, like I always, I think in the online world, like you see these gurus are like always thrown around like, leave your job in 90 days or 6 months or whatever. But this is like, that is a serious decision. And I would tell anybody that like, number one, you don't have to ever leave your job. You could build a huge business and hire the right people and they can run it for you. When you get good at it, that's going to take a hell of a lot of work, but you should never leave your job until you like know that you're ready. Like you should be like X your income before you leave, in my opinion.
What made you decide to leave the Primerica opportunity?
The office that I was working at was like like an hour and 10 minutes away. And my father's best friend was like the number one life insurance salesman at like MetLife, then Mass Mutual. Like he was huge. Um, when he heard that I was with Primerica, like he called my father. He's like, "Listen, you guys, let me sit with your son because he's getting bad advice." And I remember I went out to dinner with him, and he's like, "Look, you're selling life insurance the wrong way. Like what Primerica is teaching you is you're going after like low income people who could only afford $6 a month policies." He's like, "Do you want to sell $6 a month policies for the rest of your life, or you want to come to the big leagues? And I'll show you how to do that." And so I was almost like brainwashed by the way by them. Like I believed everything they told me. But then like financially, when you actually look at it, like in my opinion, whole life policies are much better to build wealth, and term policies, they don't ever pay out. Like 1% of people. This is why companies love term policies. And yeah, and so I just learned another way. And so I still actually sell life insurance to this day. Friends, family, people recommend me.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. Learned something new.
Yeah. Well, it
So,
happens like only a couple times a year, so I never really mention it.
so going back to education, like you went through a lot of education yourself, you were an educator and then a vice principal. If you could change one thing about the education system using what you've learned as an entrepreneur, what would you change first?
God. Like higher education or like any education?
Whatever comes to your mind that you think you would change about the education system.
I mean, I think like measuring success by scores and like minimum score and an A, B, I think it's all stupid. I think education is more about experiences and hands-on. You know, when you go to college for 4 years, like to be I was an economics major. And if I went to get a job on Wall Street, which I could have, like, would I have learned anything in business school that would have pertained to what I would learn on Wall Street? No, it's all hands on. So, I almost feel like there's really not much you could fix about it. If you want to know the truth, I don't think you could fix it, and I don't think you could fix it because, um, how do you take as a math teacher, like you teach 120 kids a day, like what are you supposed to do? Like what hands-on stuff can you possibly do? Because the teacher to student ratio is just, way out of whack. Can't bring them on a field trip, God forbid, costs money. And so, yeah, I don't really know what you could fix. And so there are some parents who just homeschool their kids and they probably get a much better education than the people who go to public schools. And I know I get a lot of slack for that, but I don't know. Kids freaking sit in class for 8 hours a day. I just don't get it.
Yeah. I actually learned recently something called the sphere of influence, that the sphere of influence is 1 to 7, meaning like one person can effectively
7.
influence or teach about 7 people at a time. So then you
Yeah.
compare that to the average classroom size and you're like, well, shit. Yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's 28 to 35 kids in a classroom. Like, seriously, like,
Hmm.
and like I don't know. Like my son is like, my daughter's not going to be like he is, but my son is like very like he goes straight A's, like he's got honors classes. Don't know really where he got the brains from. It wasn't from me, believe me. But I guess my wife maybe. And I'm more worried that he's like that because like, is he gonna just follow the straight path to unless he's gonna be a doctor, fine, or a lawyer. Even a lawyer, I don't know. The average lawyer makes like 50 grand a year. But sometimes when you're too rigid and you're too following the book, you don't ever have a book written about you. So you'll just be plain Joe.
Look smart.
Yeah, book smart. Gotta be street smart too.
Okay. So going back to LMV, why do you think Local Marketing Vault has lasted so much longer than most online coaching programs?
So like if I look back, again, I'll go back to 2017, there were probably maybe 3 main other programs that were teaching similar stuff. And I think what ends up happening is that they built kind of a business around trending things, like things that were hot. And so like, they didn't keep the foundations in their program. They were just chasing the trends, like, oh, TikTok now is a new thing, and now I'm gonna go teach TikTok and things like that. And we do in the vault, we do obviously bring in new trainings all the time, but we make sure everybody goes through the core foundational trainings, because if you could learn those and understand what we're actually doing and you understand the steps to doing them, By the time you're kind of like done with those 6 weeks, let's say, of our foundational training, you can then start to use that correctly. And if we were just constantly bouncing people around, this is what I believe they all did in other programs. They were just chasing the trend. They, never updated their training. Their all of their energy was put into running ads to get more people to the coaching program and not looking at what was coming out the other end. If that makes sense. So you're pushing them all in, and then you're not realizing that, well, nobody's succeeding anymore. Like they were in the beginning and they're not, because things change. And so we always updated our training, and that's what's helped so much with having a partner, was that like I was able to handle the marketing side of it, and he was able to handle running our agency and then redoing all the trainings. And I think that's why it worked well, where a lot of those other programs didn't really have partners, and they were just chasing the money rather than just trying to deliver a good product. There's
Yeah.
not many of them
Yeah.
left. I don't even know out there. I guess the AI agency is kind of like the new thing that people are using.
But that's really the direction that you guys have shifted in, is teaching AI and bringing it into the agency.
Yeah, so I think that AI more is just used as a tool to help get things done better and faster than before. Again, we always try to force people to understand the business first. Then you can use AI to like build a site in 5 minutes. Find leads now that our new lead finder is coming out. And so I think AI plays a role in just being able to do things, like I said, faster and easier, and with a better understanding of what people are doing. You'd be surprised how many people still will do like, oh yeah, I'm going to learn how to build a site with AI, but they're just like, then what do I do with the site? It's like, first you need to know what to do with the site before you build the site using AI. Like just building a site doesn't really do anything. If you have intent behind it, then it becomes even more exciting.
Yeah. That's how I always explain it to people as well. I'm like, if you don't know the foundations of like how the service that you're offering actually helps somebody, then that person's not going to care how quickly you built it or what fancy AI tool you use. You need to understand the foundations of the value you're actually bringing, and then you just learn how to use AI to get there faster. But I think people get those mixed up, and they think that learning AI is going to be like the thing.
Yeah, and so you actually see it. There's this guy, I'm not going to mention his name. He has an AI school training. I think he like won the school games or something. Does like 400,000 or 500,000 a month, and he's selling just like trainings on selling AI to businesses. But when I tell you that you need to have like an IQ of 180 to like understand what he was doing, he was using like N8N and building these complex things. And like, look, that's great. Like, but our philosophy is like, I'm not going after a Fortune 500 company who can pay me $40,000 to build some complex thing. I don't have an IQ of 180. And so, like, I think for the everyday person who wants to just learn this business, utilizing AI, there's much easier things that you could do that you could charge $1,000 a month. You don't need to hit home runs, right? And so I think AI just makes it easier and faster, like we said.
Yeah. So I know you talk a lot in your content about your agency and using AI, and you also talk a lot about your real estate business. So what do you prefer giving more of your time to these days? Your marketing agency or your real estate business?
No, marketing agency. My real estate. So like I become very obsessive with things sometimes. So like for example, like the last 8 or 9 months, I was all into the real estate side of things because I needed to be. And believe me, I was very sick of going there every day, fixing certain things, rehabbing things. And every time I would start with like one apartment, I thought I would be done. And then I was done. And then another opportunity opened up in another apartment. And I'm like, oh my God, like I have to go and do this. And then literally the same thing would happen. And it happened 5 times in a row. Where like one tenant moved, I rehabbed it. Then that tenant moved to the new apartment. And then I had this one open and I rehabbed it. And like they all moved in the same building. They just wanted bigger, better apartments. And so it burnt me out big time. Like burnt me out and put a big hole in my bank account. That's for sure. But I had to do it because it was, for a lot of reasons, it was, it's going to pay off huge. And, but I'm so glad to be back sitting in this chair because it was exhausting. So I'm literally saying no to deals because I don't want to touch real estate right now until like I'm over this whole 8-month sabbatical I took. So I'd rather be in my chair talking about marketing and the vault and my agency and clients and things like that.
So what does working on your marketing agency roughly look like for you today? Because obviously it looks very different than it did, 7, 8 years ago. You've probably got team members helping with different things. So what does that usually look like for you when you are focusing on the marketing agency?
Getting more clients or looking over like referrals or talking to referrals that people give us. And honestly, like a lot of trial and error with AI. Like this is how building like that AI site builder came into play because uh, it started with, an electrician who wanted a new site. And then I, used Lovable. And then I was like, which is an AI tool to build a site. And then I spent so much time like editing it. I'm like, man, imagine if I was able to just take everything that is on the internet from this client and then build it into a prompt and just build it the right way right off the bat. So then it was like, let's build it. And we were in the background building that. And now that thing is done. And so a lot of this stuff is more like I use clients more to bring things to the coaching program, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Like I still land clients because if I find something new that I tried to find that client or to use on that client or a new reputation management thing, service to do, then I can come and teach it. So the clients is almost kind of like staying in the trenches so we can continue to teach and stay up to date, really. So that's what it is. A lot of trial and error and still trying to find clients or going out and finding clients.
Yeah,
And
I
finding
think
the
that
best
actually,
ways to do that, by the way.
yeah, I think that actually speaks to what we were talking about before around like the longevity and the credibility around LMV is that this isn't something that you and Jason just learned online and teach. It's something that you guys actually do. You actually run a marketing agency. Everything you teach is based on your own trial and error. Everybody that coaches in the program or gets on a call with people are all people who have actually done it and used it. So I think
Yep.
that conviction plays a big part in LMV's longevity.
Yeah, and I agree. And that goes back to like a long conversation that Jason and I had. I think it was in 18 or 19 when we were just bringing in massive amounts of people, and we were both like, man, we don't really have time to do the agency thing. And I'm like, that's when we kind of split our roles. And I'm like, we both agreed, like we have to, because if we stop doing the agency thing, then all of our stuff stopped in 2018. Our training stopped. We don't learn anymore, and we will literally be, the old training that everybody starts to buy and starts charging back because they're like, yo, this thing it's 2024. It was built in 2017 type thing. And believe it or not, there's still some training videos that are from 2017 because there's still some foundational things that just don't change. I mean, it just does not change. Like Google is still where everybody goes to search for a local business. That's what they do. It's funny. I just saw an ad. So it was such a clever ad. I don't know what they were selling. I didn't have time to click through, but it was talking about how people are selling, like the new thing is like selling local businesses chatbots, right? Or no, voice AI. And like the start of the ad was, when was the last time you actually called a business, right? So like because most people just search, right? And then the only time would be like if you're going to book an appointment, you would call, or if it's like an emergency and they're calling from the Google business profile. And then it went on to say, like, if you're calling at midnight and you had an emergency, would you continue to talk to this AI agent, or would you just call the next company that actually answers the phone because it's an emergency, right? That's why you're calling at midnight. And it's so true. Like the foundations don't change. Like Google is where they go. Google business profiles is what they click, which has actually changed from what it was even 5 years ago. People would scroll the organics. Nobody gives a shit about organics. It's all Google business profiles. That's where 70-something% of all calls come from and all searches happen. And so that's now the new gold mine. That's a big change that is from like 5 years ago.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And that kind of plays into why you guys teach reputation management as a service as well, because Google business profiles need Google reviews.
Yep. And I'm going to tell you right now, I just read an article that ranking in AI, like the Chat GPT and all the AI things that people use, they call them LLMs or something, or Google's AI overview is really the main one, is that reviews have now a huge impact. Where they didn't really have a big impact, at least a lot of SEO people said they didn't. But the reality is now to rank in AI overview on Google, now reviews is way more important than it has ever been, which leads me to say why now is like the best time. Like, even if you just offer reputation management as a service and you don't learn anything else, you could have 20 clients at $300 a month. It's $6,000 a month, $4,000 a month. Did I say 20 clients at three? No. Oh God, help. $6,000 a month, right? Yeah. 20 clients at 300 a month is $6,000 a month. And you'd like literally spend 5 hours a month with those clients. It's just all automatic. So yeah, good time to be alive.
Nice. Okay. My next question. What is something that you used to believe that you've completely changed your mind about?
It's going to have to do with AI. I did not think AI was going to, I thought it was just going to be a here one day, gone tomorrow thing. Well, actually, let me not embarrass myself this much because I knew it was going to be big. Okay. In the beginning, like 2 years ago, obviously it was ChatGPT that started like the whole, AI has been around in the background of certain things for a while. But when it became commercially available with ChatGPT and everybody ran to it, I kind of just sat back and like waited. I was like, this thing could go one way or the other. And so for a while there, I thought like, we don't need to integrate AI into anything with marketing or anything. And then I took like a 360 flip. I'm like, wait, we have to. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind. So that was one big thing the last year and a half that I flipped on. You can watch my YouTube channel. I go from saying, forget this whole AI thing, just the foundations matter, which I still believe is true, where it's like, if you do not start using AI, you're gone. Your business is going to be over.
So was there something that happened that made that flip?
I started using it. I started using it in my own agency, and then I was like, oh my God, like I could prompt these things and I could write 100 emails in 5 minutes if I wanted to for a plumber who's trying to sell, service specials, let's say. And then I could copy it over and use AI to I could take these 30 emails and say, hey, I'm going to now send this for this company. Can you change all the emails? I mean, like these kind of things, like.
Yeah, that switch makes sense though, because you followed that trajectory though of you understood the foundations, you know how to talk to business owners, you know the value of what you provide. And so now you're seeing it through the lens of like, holy shit, AI can get me there faster. But if somebody focused on that first, I think they probably would be disappointed with the result.
Yep, because they wouldn't know what to use it for, which a lot of people still, they hear it. They see it every day, like, things. They hear the commercials of, Oracle AI. They're like, man, what that has nothing to do with me. If you don't have a use case for it, then it's going to be worthless. And the biggest use case for a lot of people is just go to ChatGPT and do the things. But I mean, it goes so much deeper than just ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Can you take me back to the first moment when you felt genuinely successful?
I don't know if I've ever felt that moment yet.
I don't believe that.
I mean, I would say probably like when I handed my letter in to quit. I genuinely thought like 2018, 19, I was like, 2018, 19, okay, you want a moment, right? There's got to be some sort of moment. Because I remember there were times I was walking out with my chest, like my chin real high and my chest was out. But I don't know if there was ever really a moment. I think it was like, all right, I knew I'm onto something that I've been chasing for so long when I quit my job. I mean, that was like a big struggle that I had and was holding on to for a long time. And that was like, that was a hard decision. But I remember us being like, man, I've built something here. And I was able to also see how the coaching was growing. And I was like, hopefully this lasts forever because this feels good. And then 2020 came and knocked me right back down to reality with COVID. But I think it knocked a lot of people down to reality. And so one thing that I did learn was never rest on your laurels and just, this is why successful people, and by the way, I'm going to be honest, like I am nowhere near what I want to be. Like I want to never worry about money again. I don't know if anybody understands that, where like I could do whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want, and never look at another price again. Not sure how.
Do you feel like you still worry about money today? Because I think a lot of people looking at this from the outside, seeing like, oh, this guy's built a business that has done 8 figures, would assume that somebody like you doesn't worry about money.
Well, I mean, I get rid of a lot of my money. I invest in real estate. Like a lot of people, I guess, don't really understand how investing works. Like if I take $500,000 of my money, right, and I want to earn 10% on that money. However I want to do it. 10% of 500,000 is 50,000, right? Okay, but I'm getting rid of it took me a long time to build up that 500,000. and now it's gone. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna get 50 back a year, but what the hell's 50 a year? Like in the grand scheme of things, I had 500. I no longer have it. Now, does it work out in the long run? Yeah, hopefully. Most of the time, like really the only return, unless you're taking like now you get taxed on 50,000. So you're getting rid of a lot to get a little for the long, for a long-term thing. So I invest, I put money in my kids' college funds. I got a family, I got a wife, you know what I mean? Like it's money goes in and out. Do I enjoy my life? Yeah, but I say no more than I say yes, believe me. Otherwise,
Nice.
disappears. You'll spend it all.
Yeah, I actually cut a clip of you recently saying that money gets bored if you don't
Yeah.
push it to something. So you kind of have built a habit in your life of you get money in and then you find something to invest it in so that you constantly feel like you don't have money.
Yeah, because what happens, yes. So, like, for example, in a couple months ago, was it? Yeah, probably 4 or 5 months ago, I did a big refinance in a large unit in Ohio, 80 unit in Ohio. We got a lot of money. And there was like a few months where I kind of was like, like walking around, like, maybe I don't need to go to the office today. Like, you start to feel like that. And I've had that feeling before where I just had a big chunk of money sitting there and you find excuses to like, maybe I'll go golf today. Maybe, and then all of a sudden it comes into 2 days, and then it's like, let's go take vacation, and then it's like, you just find if you don't, money gets bored, and you're gonna find a way to get rid of it. And so, like right now, I'm nervous for myself because I'm looking for real estate deals, and I can't find one because these damn interest rates, and I can feel it. I can feel the relaxation of my shoulders, and I don't like it. It's making me feel uncomfortable. I gotta get rid of this money. It's scaring me a little bit.
So looking back at your journey, because I think a lot of people go through this where they think like, once I hit 6 figures, I'll feel this certain way. And then they hit that and they're like, no, once I hit 7 figures, I'm going to feel that. And no, now it's 8 figures. Do you feel like you kind of followed that trajectory of like, I will feel X when I hit Y?
Yeah, but I think I'm chasing something that I'm never going to have. But this makes so like if you actually go back 5 minutes, basically what I told you I wanted was actually something that I don't really want. Think about it. So you understand what I'm saying? Okay, I came like full circle here. So it's like I almost created like an arbitrary goal to make sure I'm always chasing something. And then like subconsciously, I just realized while talking through this was like, that's actually what I'm trying to avoid. But I think at some point you come to a part in your life where you're like, all right, I can't keep pushing, like, so then at that moment, it's like, I want to not have to worry about anything.
So what do you think that would have to look like for you to not worry anymore?
I don't know. We could talk again when I get there. I don't really know. I don't have like I always said that I wanted to own enough real estate that it basically paid me a lot. Like, I didn't really have like a kind of a number in my yearly head, but like money that I make now, I could live on. But if I could make this same money with just my real estate, I'd be happy.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'll accept that for now.
All right.
So you'd mentioned 2020 kind of humbled you guys a bit. What happened in 2020? Like it was the pandemic. Did you find that people just were freaking out and weren't joining the coaching program? Like what happened that made you feel like that was a rough time for your business?
Well, I mean, if we all go back to 2020, I mean, they shut the freaking businesses down. So who the hell would want to buy a coaching program to learn how to work with businesses when they're shut down? And that fear lasted a long time. And it's funny because any other coaching program or online course exploded during that time because everybody was home learning how to do e-com, learning how to do that. But ours was the opposite. It was like, I'm not touching that thing with a 10-foot pole because I'm going to learn how to work with these businesses. They're not even open. And the last thing they're going to want to do is spend money on marketing. Like I'm going to be their first expense. And we did see that. We saw a lot of that. That's actually where Go High Level came in and why we moved everything to save our own expenses. And then a lot of people were able to do the same thing by moving from all these tools into Go High Level. That was a big turning point for us to keep overhead low and a lot of our students. But yeah, it was like a really shitty business to teach during that time.
Okay. What do you feel like? Was there something that happened that kind of turned things around, or was it just the fading of the pandemic paranoia that things started going back up?
So it was weird. It went from being the worst business to get into. And at the same time, businesses realized, God damn it, if I had my business online, I maybe would have survived this or could have sold a lot more stuff or whatever. And then it started to become the best business during that time. You know what I mean? And so a lot of businesses realized, like, I got to get online. I got to fix this marketing thing. I got to make sure that people can find me, make sure my Google business profile is connected. And then there was this big surge to that. And now we're actually starting to see like a lot of businesses kind of just not just having a clue on how to set their business up online. And they just don't. And I get it. Like, how could they? They know how to fix cars or, add a filling to a tooth.
Yep.
They don't know how to
Yeah.
do marketing.
Yeah. One of our first clients was an HVAC technician who'd been doing this for like 30 years, and he didn't even know that he could get his old customers coming back in by just messaging them. So one of
Right.
the first services we did for him was message marketing. We literally just sent out a message to all his clients, and we earned him like over $13,000 just
Yeah.
doing that one time.
Yeah, and that actually brings me to the beauty of this business is like, okay, you could change your life too, but what did we say in the beginning of this interview? Was that I always kept that mantra in my head of, if you help other people get to where they want to go, you will naturally get there. And this business has that synergy built into it because a business is not going to continue to pay you unless they're making more money than they're paying. You should be an investment, not an expense. And like it just has that built in there. And so you changing these business owners' lives, sometimes you're saving them from going out of business. And for what? For doing like simple things, like simple logical things. Like customer comes in, get the name, email, and phone number, goes into a system. And in a month, you send them a special to come use you. Service for the winter. Come fix your HVAC before you're left with no heat and 0-degree weather. Simple
Yep.
stuff. And if you don't know simple stuff, go chat GPT and say, hey, I have an HVAC client wants to send a message to his past clients and it's coming into the winter. What should I say? And it will literally tell you this is what you should do. That's where AI comes into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Can use it as kind of a second brain. Okay. So going back to what we were talking about before, when you were still a teacher and you were living the employee life, can you remember a point or something happening that kind of made you think like, God damn it, I'm on the wrong path here. This is not what I want my life to be.
Oh, yeah. I know where you're going with this. You want me to tell that Starbucks story?
I think that was like your breaking point story,
Yeah,
but
is that what you meant? So ask it again.
if you can remember like a moment in your life when you were living the employee life where you felt like you were just on the wrong path.
Yeah, I would say honestly, the Starbucks story is really kind of like what I was like. Basically walking into a Starbucks, my wife, my son is at daycare. We're gonna go to the like get a massage and go to the hot tub and all that stuff. What the hell do they call this?
Spa?
Spa. God, thank you. I was just at one last week too. Yeah, we're gonna go to the spa, and I knew I had like $30 in my account. I knew, like I could get through. I could get there, pay for it, and still have like $30 in the account. We go to Starbucks to get coffee, and in my head, I'm like, okay, like it's gonna be $1, like $2, $4, $5, whatever. It still leaves me like 25. My wife grabs the fancy schmancy Starbucks coffee, ceramic one. And I knew we had one at home, and she flips it over, and I flip out. I'm sorry. I asked her how much is it. She flips it over. It was like $22, and I flipped out. Long story short, I was like, all right, this is like not. We fought the whole day. Well, we fought and then started talking about it. And she's like, listen, this is not the life I want to live, and this is not the life you want to live. And I'll handle all the home stuff, and you continue to do, because I was already searching and trying to find things and start online businesses. And she's like, if you can continue to do it, you're gonna fall into something. You're gonna find something, and I have faith in you that you'll make it work. And I think it was 6 months later or something that I saw the Facebook ad, the famous Facebook ad with the hands. I actually still, man, I wish that guy was around. But anyway, he wrote that copy. I became friends with him. I bought that coaching program, Rank and Rent, SEO. That's how it started. And then we transitioned into paid ads for reasons that doesn't really matter. We felt that was a better business model than trying to rank and rent, businesses that we didn't own.
Do you feel like that was that like scary for you, having almost like the pressure to provide for your family on your shoulders?
Yeah, but I think that's like when I perform the best, like you just have this certain energy that you can't really explain. I was relentless, like relentless back then. I like to believe that I still am, but maybe not. I have like spurts of relentlessness, but you go back then, I was like every night, like 8 to 12, 8 to 1, searching, finding, learning, going to calls, showing up to calls every Wednesday night or Tuesdays and Thursdays. He would do them, studying, calling, meeting with businesses, walking in. I joined 2 BNI groups. to get in, just to force myself to like make things happen. And so, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say that I have that relentlessness like I used to, but that's why I'm trying to make myself go broke and get rid of all my money so that I can feel that again.
So you liked feeling that way?
Not in the moment, but and I'm sure if I felt like that again, I would not like it either. But I can't. It's hard to explain. Like you want to arbitrarily feel that way, knowing that it's not like really, but like you still like I could save myself by doing X, Y, and Z, but it's a pain in the ass to do X, Y, and Z. So let me just do it this way, type thing. So like I could sell a building, let's say, and get a bunch of money, but it's like it takes a lot of work to do that too. So I might as well do the easy work and just go land a bunch of clients and make a lot of money.
Gotcha. Understood. What is a really big mistake you've made in business besides maybe not starting sooner?
Big mistake. Well, I'll tell you two big mistakes. One of the biggest mistakes, because I don't think like I'll say it and then you're gonna be like, it doesn't seem like that big of a mistake. We should have shut our ads off in March of 2020. We let those ads run for 6 months. It was probably $1 million we lost during that time. And it was partially my fault, partially Jason's fault. Basically, it was spending money and not looking at what was actually happening with that money. That was a very huge mistake. It was probably more than $1 million we lost in 6 months. Like we just were not looking at it. Nobody was looking at KPIs. And so it was being careless with our business. We became very careless. It was a weird time. Anyway, that's one of the biggest mistakes we made. The second big mistake we made was technology, just jumping from one tool to another. Because again, we got crushed in a certain, it's hard to explain, but we were basically sending emails to the same list for like 9 months. And the list was just an old list that never got updated. And it was just basically, eventually our URL was, it took us like 6 months to just warm up another URL to actually have it start even hitting promotions tab. That was a disaster too. So it was basically those were the two biggest mistakes. I can't say that I ever like said no to something I should have said yes to, or said yes to something I should have said no to. I don't think any of those things. It was more like those two like oversights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just both oversights, not looking at the data.
Yeah, and in real estate, I'll tell you the biggest mistake I ever made, and sometimes I wake up in sweats because of it. I sold a 6-unit apartment building in 2018 because I was making so much damn money. I'm like, I don't need this shit. I sold it for $600,000. It's worth 1.7, 1.8 million now. So I lost $1 million on that one too. It makes me sick. I drive by it sometimes because I have, my father owns some buildings in that area. It literally turns my stomach. I should never have sold that damn thing. Damn. See, it's pissing me off now.
Hindsight's always 20/20 though.
And I only owed like 200,000 or 250,000. Oh my god, that one hurts. That's the biggest one. That hurts me more than anything.
I won't dig into that one too much. I can see it's just piercing your heart.
Well, I mean, to dig into that, don't think your shit don't stink. I was all this money, blah, blah, blah. Like you never know when you could have used that. I could have used that shit in 2020, that property in 2020, because for whatever reason, like I could have refinanced it, pulled money out. Like that was like this. My real estate is mainly my safety net. Is really why I subconsciously own real estate. It's just like if shit hits the fan again, I got these things.
Gotcha. Okay. When you stopped being an employee and started building your own business, doing your own thing, did that change any relationships in your life?
When I stopped being an employee and started, not really, actually. A lot of my friends, no, I don't know. Should it have? I'm just curious. Give me an example.
I think that's something that I hear from people that they kind of fear is like being judged by people who don't get what they're doing, or people not being supportive of it, or just I think when people shift from being an employee to being an entrepreneur, there are a lot of people that you maybe grew up around and have relationships with that just don't get it. And I mean, even in my own life, like becoming an entrepreneur has made me think about life differently. And I feel like there's relationships that people just don't get it and they don't support you. And you kind of inevitably do sometimes lose people. And I think that's a fear that some people have when going into this is like, people aren't going to get it. People won't understand me. They won't be supportive. Did you experience that when people knew that you were building your own business?
I would honestly say the only person was my father. That was it. Like everybody, like my best friend owns a business. Most of my friends are all business owners. And like, obviously people that I work with that we're friends with, I'm no longer friends with. I mean, I only were friends with them because I work with them, saw them every day. And I really never got any pushback My wife used to always tell me, and this is nothing against teachers out there or principals or like or any educators. She just always used to say like, I feel like you got way more to give than just being a teacher. That sounds really bad, but and she was like right in a way where like I was impacting kids, but in a really shitty way. I was a really shitty teacher, and what I was doing as a vice principal, like anybody could do that. Like they hired somebody in a split second the minute I left, and so like I was so replaceable everywhere that it was more like you should be doing something that you can't just be replaced so easily. And you know, I would say really the only pushback was my dad because he just grew up in that era where it was like go to college, get a job, get a 401k, or teachers get 403bs in New Jersey, and a pension, and live life into the like a unicorn. But my father also doesn't go on vacation, hates going on vacation, hates the sun, and loves to just drive to his buildings and fix shit every day. Like, this is what he loves to do. My mom loves to just, I don't know, go to the library. Like, this is boring people. I'm not boring, and like, maybe it's our generation also. They're just happy to have food on the table at that time and a roof over their head. We're just spoiled brats that just want more out of life, squeeze every ounce we can get. It's different. I don't know.
Yeah, I relate to that. All right, I got a few more questions for you, and then I'll let you proceed with your day.
I think I might
What
take
are
a nap
some?
after this one.
Yeah, well, you might just have to go back to Starbucks.
Yeah, no, I got nothing left. I should have got a tall. No, a venti.
All right, what are some of your values that you refuse to compromise on, even if it costs you money?
Values. I mean, I think that you should never have to step on somebody to get ahead. I think that if somebody's in your way to get ahead, you could work with them to get ahead, which I've done so many times in business, partnered, like there were so many times where like, we've even had students come up with a training that, we could have done ourselves and we would have made a lot more money. But instead, what, everybody deserves to eat. And I think that if you have that kind of, again, lifting people up instead of trying to get ahead is one big thing. I think lying about, certain things, especially in this industry, I think like, there's a lot like there's a lot of like in this industry like um blowing like claims out of proportion and saying like, oh, this person did $10,000, everybody could do $10,000, when the reality is not everybody can. Like, not everybody could do this business. Not everybody is an entrepreneur. Can everybody be? Yes. But again, like I always try to come across as like this is not easy. The process is easy. But in between your ears is where all the problems happen. And there is nothing you could do other than like plugging into communities and stuff like that. But I'm going off on a tangent. So yeah, so I don't think I like cheating people, stealing, lying to gain and kind of like stepping on to get to get ahead. I don't think is fair. And another thing too is we talked about trends earlier. Like one of the things that I try not to do is jump on trends just to gain viewership or subscribers or sales. This is why I wait so long. And I'm usually late to the game, but it's mostly because like if I am pushing something because it's a trend and everybody's searching it and everybody's looking for it and they want to buy it, I don't want to be the one they buy it from. Then all of a sudden it becomes like a farce, I guess. Yeah. I probably have really bad terms for these things, but like I hope you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all just kind of boils down to integrity, like having integrity in what you do.
Oh, that's the word I'm looking for. Integrity, having integrity in everything you do in life.
Good. Understood. What do you look for in people that you hire, work with, collaborate with?
Yeah, I might not be that very good at that. I usually just kind of like I like to work with people who are not always in the best spot. If that makes sense. And like I like to help people. And so like I mean they can't be incompetent, but like I think that I like to kind of find the diamond in the rough and try to polish it. And I always know that I'm not going to always be the one to like, be able to like I could bring people up to a certain level. I don't know how far I could take people, but I think at some point it's like they have to choose. Like I'll give them the opportunity, but at some point it needs to now be you who has to find the next to even go further. So yeah, I think that we've done it a ton of times with like students where again courses, and I think we've had like a dozen students eventually build their course and sell it and make money with it and then go off on their own. Again, it's the agency thing. But as far as like hiring goes, yeah, I think it's more I try to find people who just fucking want it, you know? Like you'll learn. Like I don't ever look for the best. I look for the ones who have the most motivation, the ones that want it as much as I do, and also has integrity, and they have half a brain at least, some a little bit of a brain. I know Alex doesn't have a lot of a brain, but you do. You carry both brains. I'm just kidding, Alex.
We fill each other's gaps in that sense for sure.
I know.
Sometimes I overthink too much, and he's good for that side of things for sure.
Yeah, I know. That's why you guys are a perfect couple, right?
Perfect. Yes, that's right. Absolutely flawless. So the flip side of that is are there any red flags that make you hesitate about working with somebody?
Yeah, when they come across like they know everything, or they guarantee that they are the best, or that you know what I hate the most? We've worked with Fortune 500 people, blah 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 blah. They always turn out to be garbage. Like like hiring companies or people who claim they work with big companies always end up just being because you don't ever work with that person. You just work with like 4 levels deeper. And I find that out every time. Every time I do this, like every time I do, whether it be for hiring YouTube stuff or Instagram stuff or any social media stuff, I always find out that it's just like, God damn, they're so good at marketing and I should know better. But I always find out that I'm just an idiot. But the good thing is you always try to take something from all these experiences. And that's what makes you make better decisions in the future. So
Yeah. Well, and it kind of seems like a double-edged sword too, because if these people are trying to land clients and they have worked with big companies in some way, it makes sense that they would put that out there because they're trying to stack their credibility. So
yeah,
then how do you sort through that and see like who's actually going to be a good match here, you know?
yeah, and that's the hardest part. And I have found that 1 man, 2 man shows are the best. You know, where you're like their fourth client, and they're still living in their mom's basement. And they like, you know, even like if I give you an example, like we hired like this was about a year ago. This kid, he was a kid, and he was referred to me for like YouTube stuff, scripting and stuff like that. Didn't work out, but I would say that like that process that I learned from him was a really good process. And then I took my sabbatical, so it kind of like broke off. But like I was like his third client, and you know, it was I was able to talk to him and get on the on like talk online, and he was on top of his stuff. And then what ended up happening, he started to get like a lot more clients, and then it was like I got pushed back, and this is what happens when you grow too big and you don't know how to build a team because you start to burn through them. But yeah, I like to find like people who kind of like come across competent and they're not big and they're they're motivated because they're trying to build their own business big and they have that motivation. They're not just like
Something
a
to
burn and
prove.
churn shop.
Yeah. Yeah. Understood. Okay. Final 2 questions. Who are 3 of your favorite content creators? Like people whose content that you actually watch?
God, I watch so much content. Let's see, who do I go to all the time? So what's it? What I'm not gonna be able to give you names, but I could probably give you like channel names, like Life of a CEO,
Diary of a CEO, like the
Diary of a
podcast?
CEO. I think Diary of
Yep.
yeah. Do you know his name?
Stephen Bartlett.
Yes, Stephen Bartlett. All right, hold on. You're gonna put me on the spot here. I'm just gonna go to my YouTube.
Easy enough.
Now, like a lot of people say, like Alex Hormozy or whatever, he's a little too, this is going to come across wrong. I was going to actually post about this. I'm just going to say it while I'm looking here for my history. It's very, very, very difficult for me to listen to any advice about business or life if that person doesn't reflect my life. Oh man, that was a good way to put it. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
If you're not married and you don't have kids, it is very difficult for me to really give a shit what you have to say. Makes sense? And that probably sounds really, really bad. Like Alex, I shared a stage with Alex in 2016 for our agency and his agency. He was a gym agency, our agency, the ClickFunnels event. And Alex is where he is now because his entire life is dedicated to business. Now, I'm not going to take away from it, but if I was working 20 hours a day and had no kids and my wife was my business partner, and by the way, she's also extremely smart. And by the way, he has an IQ of like 200, Alex Hormozy. But it's very hard to listen to business advice when you know that they're gonna like you need to like outwork. Like that's what what I'm saying. So I like to have that kind of family life balance and listen to people like that. In my opinion, does that sound mean?
No, I've thought the same thing. It's generally don't take advice from somebody who lives a completely different life than the one I know I want to build. Because the way I think about it is like if somebody is a super successful, multimillionaire, but he's obese and has been divorced 6 times,
Yeah.
like how much of that guy's advice do I want to take?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
so the
so Diary of a
avatar.
CEO.
Yeah, so Diary of a CEO, again, because they're interviewing people, so not like he's just the interviewer. Chris Williamson is another one. Andrew Huberman is another one for health and wellness. The iced coffee hour. Oh, you said 3 only, right?
Hey, this is fine.
Yeah, so they're mostly like podcasts. Iced coffee hour. I pop on Ryan Dice's channel every so often.
I haven't heard of him. What does he talk about?
Oh God, Ryan Dice was huge in marketing. Like he's been around for 15 to 20 years, and he's like a Frank Kern. And Frank Kern, I always go to his stuff. He's all into AI stuff. He's got a really cool AI tool. But I love listening to Frank. He's so nonchalant, and he makes it be cool to be old on the internet. That makes sense. Does that make sense? Like sometimes I feel like, man, like I'm an old guy for this internet. Like I'm like, how long can I do this for? You know? And then I look at Frank Kern. I'm like, he's like 54, I think. So I still got 10 years at least. So yeah, I would.
You got a while. Nice. Okay. Well, my very final question is, if there's, let's say, a young guy watching this who's maybe been consuming your content for a while and he's thinking about being his own boss, what advice would you give to that guy?
I would say, like, the biggest thing that I remember helped me back in the day was make a decision who you're going to learn from, whether it be you're learning for free on YouTube. Then if that person has some sort of coaching and training, buy it, suck it up and buy it, and then get off all of your other lists. You do not want to get emails from anybody else because it will suck you in. And you follow one person and you follow them, learn from them. And if you can make whatever business it is, you make it work. There's levels to this game. And most of the time you'll get to a certain level and then that kind of mentor can't get you any further. And then you have to go out and search somebody else. And then you just slowly work up the ladder. That's kind of like, that's the best advice that I got back in the day. I got rid of all my lists that I were on, deleted them, got rid of them. And I was only getting emails from that one course owner that eventually became like a good friend, flew out to his place a bunch of times. And then I wasn't being bombarded by offer after offer after offer because I would have been pulled and sucked in. And I never went to YouTube again. Once I had that training, and I learned, I stayed, I was never on YouTube ever again.
Do you think it goes back to what we were saying before of when you're picking that mentor and you're picking something that you actually believe you're going to commit to, you should pick somebody who has actually like achieved the thing or the lifestyle that you want?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you have to kind of look at where somebody is and say that I want to be there because they could mentor you to get there. By the way, I use that word mentor in a light fashion, I would say. Like a lot of people think like mentoring is like, oh, we're going to go have coffee and talk. Like you could be mentored and never have actually spoken to that person before. Because ultimately you're listening to them every day, you're learning from them. Maybe if they have live calls, like you can ask questions, things like that. But if you want to get somewhere, find somebody who's where you want to get and learn from them and follow them. Because if they haven't gotten there yet, how are they going to get you or anybody else there? So
yeah, I believe that as well. All right. Well, I feel like that's a pretty good note to end on. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. But thank you again for giving me an hour and a half of your time. What an honor.
Damn. Oh yeah, it's right there. Hour and 34 minutes. That felt like it was 5 minutes. I'll do this anytime you want. You're gonna run out of questions.
I'm gonna hold you to that, but I'll have to hunt you down again.
Well, I mean,
all
we
right.
could probably get like 30 clips from this.
I plan to get at least 2 months of content out of this.
Oh my God. Okay, that's a beautiful. See, if you put it like that, then I'll probably do this more often. I'll just change my hat and my shirt.
That's right. All we need is a hat change, and that's pretty much it.
All right, awesome. I appreciate you doing this as well.